Before we get today's Texas Tech men's basketball video started, head on over to homefieldapparel.com to get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt. You're going to see me rocking my favorite Texas Tech shirt here in just a minute on the video, but they got throwback options. They got the tortilla toss. They got the 3/4 sleeve baseball style stuff, as well as hoodies and sweatpants. Go get your new favorite Texas Tech shirt, or really any Texas Tech apparel, over at homefieldapparel.com. And the best part about it, when you use the code BACK212, you'll save 15% off your entire purchase. Again, BACK212 is the promo code to save 15% off your new favorite Texas Tech shirt. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And in today's video, well, it's Texas Tech men's basketball time. We are just under 30 days away from the Red Raiders tipping off year number 1 of Grant McCasland. And, well, it's going to be a lot of fun out in the 806 this year. In today's video, we'll discuss my projected starting 5 for the Red Raiders, the 3 must-watch players, as well as an early look at Bracketology from Joe Lunardi and ESPN. And don't shoot the messenger on it. I know a lot of people don't like it. It's still fun to talk about, criticize, critique, whatever you want to do with it. It's fun to see where the national media is viewing Texas Tech going into this season. But before we get into any of that in my projected starting 5, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. Liking the video goes a long way. It shows that, hey, RC, we want more men's basketball content here on the channel. Right now, during basketball season, we're planning on putting out maybe 2 or 3 videos a week. But if you want more, let us know by simply liking the video and hitting that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right, let's jump into my projected starting 5 for the Red Raiders in year number 1 of Grant McCasland. We've got Joe Toussaint, the West Virginia transfer. I mean, I'm really excited about Joe Toussaint in terms of him complimenting Pop Isaac in the backcourt for the Red Raiders. Then you've got Pop Isaacs, previously mentioned, and then Darrion Williams, Devan Cambridge, and Warren Washington. Now, for me, from everything I've heard from people that have watched a lot more practice than I have for Texas Tech, this is the starting 5 the Red Raiders are going to go with in game number 1 against Texas A&M Commerce on November 8th at the USA out in Lubbock, right? Obviously, injuries could downplay this and change it up. But these are the guys that I think Texas Tech is going to start. One more time, put it on the screen for you there. I really like how Joe Toussaint compliments Pop Isaacs, right? Especially on the defensive side of the court, right? You've got Darrion Williams, who we're going to talk about a little bit more later on in terms of the must-watch players. And then you've got a guy that is kind of like the Swiss Army knife of the front court and really can play anywhere on the floor, if you ask me. And Devan Cambridge, he's long, athletic, 6'6" guy. Don't be surprised if at times when Warren Washington is off the floor, if Devan Cambridge isn't used as the quote-unquote big for the Red Raiders, and the Red Raiders go small ball and just try and space the hell out of teams, right? That could happen. And then Warren Washington, really the lone big on the team. We'll talk about him a little bit more as well here in just a second in terms of the must-watch players. But before we do, let me know who you are most excited to watch for Texas Tech men's basketball in terms of the player side of things. Are you excited to watch Pop Isaacs in year number 2 of him out in the 806, or the plethora of new guys on the roster, whether that's Darrion Williams, whether that's Joe Toussaint, whether that's Warren Washington, Devan Cambridge, Chance McMillan, right? There's so many new guys out there. Let me know who you are excited to watch this year at, well, Texas Tech. I mean, this is pretty fun, man, in terms of getting new guys out there. I wish there was a little bit of continuity, but there was expected turnover when it comes to the roster and having a new coach and really a new coaching staff in there in general. All right, let's start with the must-watch players for Texas Tech, in my opinion, going into year number 1 of Grant McCasland. It all starts with Pop Isaacs, who in no uncertain terms had a great freshman year. You got to remember, this guy nearly shot 40% from 3 as a true freshman in the toughest conference in America. Okay, listen, I know he came out of the gates and struggled a little bit, but listen, he was asked to do a ton as a true freshman, and he would have shot 40% from 3 if he wasn't asked to do so much and have to take shots late in the shot clock where he's their only chance at making something happen, right? I don't think that's going to happen as often this year. I think Texas Tech has a few more pieces and will understand spacing a little bit more with Grant McCasland as the head coach. And I really like the complementary pieces around him in terms of Joe Toussaint. I think they complement each other really well. Joe Toussaint, more of that defensive-oriented guy, the bully guy, tough guy, getting to the rim physicality, right? Pop Isaacs, more of Still a physical guy, but he can space the floor, really ready for the catch and shoot. I think they complement each other really well. In theory, I think spacing for Texas Tech will be better, which in turn allows Pop Isaacs to have better catch and shoot opportunities or better shot opportunities off the dribble. So I really think his percentages increase a little bit, right? And he is really one of those guys that will make the engine go for Texas Tech offensively. All right. Moving into the front court, you got Warren Washington. As I mentioned, really the lone big on the Texas Tech roster, the only guy on the roster, 6'10" or taller. He will have a major impact on the defensive end for Texas Tech and on the glass. He's a really athletic big that's really good in the pick and roll, understands his spacing really well as has good feet. That's something that you don't find very often from bigs in college basketball, right? So I really like that. He also runs the floor at a really high level, and I think Texas Tech is going to take advantage of that and try and get some easy buckets for the Red Raiders out in transition. All right. The guy that I'm probably most excited and intrigued to watch for the Red Raiders this year is Darrion Williams. He's 6'6", 210, Nevada transfer, Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Year, right? He has shot the best from three this summer, according to Grant McCasland and others that I've talked to, in scrimmages that the Red Raiders have had, right? He is a guy that simply makes winning plays. Simple and plain. You don't have to really run a play for him, but he can help space the floor. He's good in pick and roll. He can be a primary ball handler for you. He's good really just about anywhere offensively in terms of what you ask him to do. Now, I don't know if he's quite elite at anything, but he's really good at everything, right? And I think that there's something to be said for that, especially catch and shoot. He shot north of 44% from three as a true freshman at Nevada off catch and shoot opportunities. That'll play, okay? So he can really do quite a bit of things. He's the guy that I think could be a true X factor for Texas Tech when it comes to the offensive side of the court for Texas Tech, because he's a guy that I think is going to allow spacing to happen for Pop, for Joe, for Chance, right? For Devan. And he's going to be a guy that you're going to have a mismatch when it comes to the pick and roll because he can get to the basket, right? He's a good passer as well to Warren, who can go above the rim and slam it down, right? So these are the guys that I'm really watching. Again, it's Pop Isaacs, Warren Washington, and Darrion Williams. No surprise there, I don't think. But maybe this is a little bit of a surprise to you. The preseason bracketology projections for ESPN. Listen, the season starts in less than 30 days, and ESPN has released an early bracketology projection. And you look at it, and this is where the Red Raiders stand, according to Joe Lunardi. Got it right here on Twitter. If you want more Texas Tech and Big 12 content, be sure to go follow me over there at RCNB323 on Twitter. You see where Texas Tech is, right? They're the last team in to the NCAA tournament, and in the 68-team bracket, they are in Dayton facing Providence, according to Joe Lunardi. And listen, I think when you look at everything, right, I think Texas Tech is going to be improved from last year. I think that they have a better roster overall. But I think for a majority of the season, they're going to be around the bubble or just above it, right? Just because, again, it's the Big 12 Conference, man, and they actually have a pretty decently difficult non-con schedule. You got to think about it. They go to the Battle of Atlantis. They're going to face Villanova, at least down there, have the potential to face other schools like UNC, Michigan, so on and so forth, right? Then you got Vandy and Fort Worth, right? You've also got to go to Butler this year, right? Like, you've got decent games there, so you're going to be battle-tested going into the toughest conference in America, right? So I think they're going to win more Big 12 games. I don't think they're going to win 5 this year. I think they're going to be in that 7 to 8 range, and that'll put you either firmly in the mix or right at that bubble line, probably a little bit above it, just from the sheer fact of, hey, it's the Big 12. And if you win 7, 8 games in the Big 12, you're doing something at a very high level. But I want to hear from you guys. Predict it. Out of the 31 games on the Texas Tech men's basketball schedule, the Red Raiders will win blank games. Let me know. I'm not asking just Big 12 games. I'm talking overall, right? So bring the non-con into this. How many out of the 31 games will Texas Tech men's basketball win in year number 1 of Grant McCasland? One more time, head on over to homefieldapparel.com to save 15% off your new favorite Texas Tech shirt. I'm telling you, this is my new favorite Texas Tech shirt. I got it over at homefieldapparel.com. You should too. Use the promo code BACK212 to save 15% off your entire purchase. And one more time, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button to stay in the know on Texas Tech men's basketball all year long right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.